Hey, I'm Keith Spira from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guests this week on Let's Talk are Kristen Stewart, the Director of Operations from the Crescent City Classic, and Kristen Gradney, the Chief Wellness Officer for LCMC Health. All the years you've been doing the Crescent City Classic, Kristen, what's been the wildest costume you've seen?
I see a lot of Speedos out there.
That can
a lot of them.
That can be wild, depending on the person wearing them.
Exactly.
All right, tune in this week for more about the Crescent City Classic on Let's Talk.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public television.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we'll cover all the home teams, Saints, LSU, Tulane, and Pelicans. Joining us on our program now, sports director from Fox 8 Sports, Juan Kincaid. A guy that, him and I did radio together for almost, 5-6 years till he moved over to Fox 8, got the sports director's job. He's on during 4 to 6. I'm on during 4 to 6. So we rarely get a chance to be together again. So here we are together on St. Joseph's Day of all days. So again, happy St. Joseph's Day to all my paisans out there. And welcome to the show. I've been looking forward to having you back on the show. Our schedule is just having jobs. Man, you guys are doing some fantastic stuff over at Fox 8 between Golf Course Sports and Entertainment Network and all the great shows you got. Tell us all about it. Keeping you busy, huh?
Gulf Coast just added to the plate.
Yes.
It really did. I mean,
and you got a 6 o'clock newscast coming up now.
And we have a 6 o'clock newscast starting March 23rd on fox8live.com and all of our streaming areas.
Right.
So that's going to be another thing added to the menu of things we do at Fox 8. Right now it's kind of calmed down a little bit because football season's over. So we take away about 4 shows. But right now we're still doing show on Tuesday night, show on Thursday night. These additional shows to the newscast and of course the final play on Sunday night. So we're staying busy.
And that Overtime podcast is really good as well.
Sean Vazan and Andre Johnson Jr. are killing it. They're almost at 750 shows.
Incredible.
And they do 3 times a week now. And it goes 30 minutes on Gulf Coast too. So
how many years in New Orleans now?
This is 25.
Yeah, I thought it was close.
It's 25. It's hard to believe. I mean, when I came here and thought I'd be here a couple years, go back to North Carolina and hopefully cover my Tar Heels, but New Orleans has become home, so it's been a lot of fun. My daughter's from here, born here, so this is home.
Yeah, it is. There's no doubt about it. And of course, Fox 8 doing a fantastic job covering all sports. We'll start with the Saints tonight, and of course, when you look at free agency, everybody is buzzing about what the Saints did. Really, for the first time, because of again their ability to be able to get out of cap hell, they were able to be targeted and aggressive in the first week of free agency, really the first days of free agency. Your thoughts on what they accomplished?
Well, I mean, again, I've been here two and a half decades, and this is the first time, and Sean and Van and I have talked about this. This is the first time in our memory that the Saints have been this aggressive on day one. Mickey Loomis has told us year after year that we like to let things settle. We don't want to jump for guys on day one. We don't want to overpay for guys, and And I'm not sure if they overpaid for a guy this time, but they saw the players that they wanted, and they were aggressive to go after them. To me, it tells me that, well, one, they've got themselves a quarterback that they believe in, and we got to put pieces around him. And two, there's some defensive pieces that we're going to lose. We've got to target guys that we want to kind of fill in those holes right away, and not wait and see what shakes off the tree after the first week of free agency is done. So I like the work they've done. I like the aggressiveness they showed. It shows me they're ready to start winning next season.
Right. They filled holes again. Travis Etienne, again, 4 years, $52 million. They come in and get the best guard on the market of David Edwards, 4 years, $61 million. They get an ex-Tulane punter, best punter in the NFC, and Ryan Wright, 4 years, $42 million, $8 million unguaranteed. Noah Fant comes in, a guy that passed on him last year. He comes in 2 years, 8.75. $4.5 million guaranteed. Then they bring Caden Ellis back after they lose Demario Davis. This week they signed Ty Chandler, who's really a kick punt returner, 1 year minimum deal, and they bring back Dylan Radins and also again John Ridgeway. And then they were able to trade Kai Kroger for a draft pick in 2028, a guy that we're going to get ready to cut. This might have been Mickey Loomis's best offseason maybe ever.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let's not include what they've done, what they're going to do in the draft, because that's still almost a month away. But I give credit to Mickey Loomis and his staff, his front office staff, on identifying the players they wanted, finding a way to get up under the cap, which, let's be honest, they have to get up under the cap before the new year begins, or there's a luxury tax. So that's never not going to happen. So let's not give too much credit there. But to take that money that you basically saved, rework some contracts, have $20 million to spend, and then spending it wisely on pieces that will come in here and help this team start winning right away, beginning with A-Chain at running back. Now, I mean, and obviously it raises other questions about, okay, what's going to happen to Alvin Kamara? What's that room going to look like? But you like that room a lot better having a younger guy like him in there, maybe taking the lead role, Alvin a supplemental role, and then guys falling in behind him. I love the fact that they bring Caden Ellis back, because he was a really good player here in spot work. But when he went to Atlanta, he exploded.
Yes, he did.
He exploded. So to get him to come back here, it's a big pickup for this team. And then, bringing Radins back and obviously Edwards, you've solidified that offensive line. Cesar Ruiz is a liability, has been one for the last year and a half. You've added stability to that offensive line. So I like the moves that they've made, and then getting the draft pick for the punter, who was one of the worst punters in the league last year.
It's crazy.
That's a good move.
Yeah, and then the losses. When you talk about the loss of Demario Davis, 2 years, $22 million, $15 guaranteed to the Jets. Maybe a little bit of overpay for the Jets there.
Oh, without a doubt.
But for the Saints, again, when you bring in a guy that's already been here, understands the culture, and a guy like you said, Caden Ellis, that went to Atlanta and became a 3-down linebacker, and then now in this particular defense, in Staley's defense, and the ability to kind of utilize his real strength, which is again rushing the passer. Again, I don't want to say it's a wash, but it could be a wash at the end of the day.
Well, we'll see, because I think with Demario Davis, the one thing you will lose is that locker room presence. And I can't tell you how many times players told us last year that the reason why things didn't go south quickly, even though they were struggling in the season record-wise, is because of Demario Davis. There's something to be said about a guy that's been in the system for a while now, is the unquestioned leader. He's Drew Brees. Now that Drew Brees has moved on, it's like he handled the man, passed it over to him, the baton. And so they're going to miss that. So you've got to find that again. You thought maybe Alvin Kamara would be that role, but we don't know if he's going to be here. We shall see. So who steps into the role of Demario Davis being the unquestioned leader of this football team? That will be hard to fill. But I do not blame Demario Davis for going back to the Jets for the money he's getting as a 37-year-old linebacker who is coming off his best season tackle-wise, which is ridiculous. Think about how good he's been since he's been here. He's on the Mount Rushmore of linebackers, of defensive players in Saints history. And now he goes to the Jets and gets $15+ million guaranteed. I mean, for a guy his age who's still productive, again, players will tell you, I didn't go for the money, but come on. You went for the money, because you're not going to win there quicker than you're going to win here.
I would agree. And as far as that Mount Rushmore, 100% agree. There's another monument on there, the Dome Patrol and Demario Davis. No doubt about that. The loss of Alontae Taylor, again, to the Titans, where they really overpaid. 3 years, $60 million, $42 million, fully guaranteed. Your thoughts?
That's a lot of money. A lot of money for Alontae, who is a very important piece in that secondary, because he can give you cornerback play, he can give you slot play, and arguably the most talented guy in that secondary, and still young. So I think Tennessee got themselves a really good player, but I totally understand why the Saints would back away from the table and say, you know what, that's way too rich for our blood, way too rich for what we want to pay. Now, having said that, it changes the focus a little bit on how they approach the draft.
True.
If Tulane from LSU is there, number 8, do you jump at that? You also need edge rush help because questions about Cam Jordan's future. Do you need to address linebacker again? Maybe somebody younger but not so high. So I think Alontae Taylor is a really good player. I love watching him play. I love how he competed, and they're going to miss that in that secondary, which, on the edge is still young.
I do agree with you, though. At 8, again, there is going to be a good player fall to them at a position of need. Whether that be Bailey or Bain at defensive end. You hope maybe Sonny Styles at linebacker, although that's doubtful. We don't think Jeremiah Love will make it down that far now. So again,
if he did, would you go out and get him?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I would.
All right.
I'm with Sean Fazan on that. I would definitely go out and get him because again, he's a once-in-a-generation back. And again, as you mentioned, we don't know what Alvin Kamara is going to be, and A-Chain and him could be a great 1-2 punch for this team. And look, NFL teams need 2 backs.
Well, if you're getting Jeremiah Love, you know what Alvin Kamara's future is. It's not here.
No, it's not here at that point, no doubt. And I want to get into that now. They used the 50% restructure rule on him, include $8.1 million this year on the cap, set him up for a June 1st cut if they like to. Again, it'll be about $10.5 million if they let him go. I think that they can utilize him in space. I think the big problem has been over the last couple of years is, again, he's not an inside runner anymore. If you can get him out in space and utilize him in the passing game on the outside, in addition to A-Chain, I think it can work. The question is, at this point, will they go after a younger player and bring a younger player in? Will they bring another veteran in? Or will they go with Kamara, feeling like, again, that could be a 1-2 punch? What do you think will happen?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to Kamara. What does he want? Does he want to take on this new role of being the second fiddle? I mean, he's had to play it in the last couple of years with Taysom Hill back there, but we always knew that Alvin Kamara was the top dog no matter who you put next to him back in that backfield. Now, the roles get reversed a little bit. It's now Travis A-Chain's job, and is Alvin Kamara going to be his Mark Ingram? I don't know. Because they are very similar running backs, although A-Chain is much younger, probably has better legs in terms of breaking long run. We haven't seen Alvin Kamara break a run over 20 yards, 20, 30 yards in a long, long time. Not saying he can't do it, but Father Time waits for no one. So I think it comes down to Alvin. Is this a role he's willing to take on? If guys are willing to take on a new role, embrace it, then you can thrive in it. Yeah,
I'll be interested in how that plays out. And again, look, from what we understand, Kamara will be on Armstead's podcast next week, so we may be able to find out more about what he's thinking about going forward.
He has been the real quiet one.
Yes, he does, and unusually quiet.
Yes.
I would agree. You mentioned Cesar Ruiz, and I agree 100%. He's been kind of the weak link on an offensive line. But again, they're going to have to look to restructure maybe a couple more contracts depending on what's going on. The big one will be Olave. If they can get a long-term deal with him, that $15 million will come off the books. That's a lot of money they can spend still for this year. But again, the question is, what do you do with him? To me, he's got 2 years left on his deal with a $14.2 million cap hit in both those years, 26 and 27. But if you trade or get rid of him post June 1st, it's $4.69 million if he's traded June 1st. If he's cut post June 1st, it's $7.3 million. My guess is they hold on to him through the draft. They see how he performs in mini camp, and if there is a taker post June 1st, or if they get someone in the draft, then maybe they go in that direction. Do you think they stick with him with a $14.2 million cap over the next 2 years, each of those years? That's a high cap number for a guy that is not playing up to the standards.
Yeah, it feels like that maybe he may be in line for a restructure as well, and then see what happens after that. It's no secret that he has not played to the level of the rest of the offensive line. And if there's been a weak link, it feels like he has been that, even though you have a rookie on the right side, a second-year player on the left side, younger guys that are playing better than you on the interior. I remember when Drew Brees was here, and there was so much talk about, protect his outside with the really good tackles. Well, they did that. But where they were most effective is when they put those 3 guys in the middle, center and right guard and left guard, and that was why Brees could stay in that pocket so long and find his targets. Cesar Ruiz has been a liability in this offense when it comes to that. You've got to protect Tyler Shuck, especially in his face, and it'll be interesting to see how they, with the pickup of Edwards, does he slide in that spot? Does he go to the left side, leave Caesar there? Dylan Radins, what does he do? I don't think they will address the offensive line high in the draft, but I do think they will address it somewhere in the draft. And I think that Cesar Ruiz will stay here for another year. And depending on what they find, like after June 1st, the offensive linemen that you would like to have are not going to be available then.
You either got it in the draft or you got it in free agency.
Exactly.
Right. And of course, they have 2 fourth-round picks now.
Yes.
So again, that usually is a prime spot for guards in the NFL to be able to get a guard in the NFL. Pete Werner might be the only player right now that, if you're looking at him, they can restructure outside of Olave to bring in more money. Saints were able to get rid of the dead money this year. I mean, again, it is again, when you look at where they are now, again, eating Jordan's $18.76 million contract dead money, Davis's $14.29 million dead money, Hill's $13.72 million dead money, and Morrow $1.4 million. And when you look at it, the reason why is, and you've talked about it on your shows, Tyler Shuck on a second round contract. What you're looking at is $150 million over the next 3 years that you would be using on a quarterback, a starting quarterback, that now you can use to build your team. If you look at where they are right now in terms of the cap and what their quarterback room cost them, $2.4 million a year for Shuck, $1.1 million a year for Rattler. That's nothing. Nothing. And that's how they were able to get out of cap hell. And that's how, again, over the next 3 years, really, again, 2029 is when his contract ends. He is a second round pick, so he doesn't get a restricted year. That means, again, they're going to have to redo a deal with him in 2028. But with that said, that's 3 years and about $50 million they can do to rebuild this team. And this is how this team could get back into contention. You know, it's funny. I was listening to Ben Roethlisberger, and this is probably a couple months ago, and he was talking about how teams are rebuilding their teams wrong. He says that they should not try to rebuild around the quarterback, build the team and put the quarterback in that system. And I'm like, that's genius, because you don't need to go out there and draft. Now, if there's a player that's like Pat Mahomes coming in, then maybe you risk that early first round pick, but you're putting a lot of money into that pick. His thinking, and I was agreeing with it, you build around that player, and then you go in the 3rd or 4th round and find you a good quarterback. Tom Brady, late round quarterback, find you a quarterback like that, and then you have the pieces around him, offense and defense, and you're not spending a fortune on that quarterback. The Saints obviously have a different approach now. They've got a quarterback who looks like he's capable. Looks like it. If he's got the right weapons around him, there can be some success. You look at how successful he was with the offense they had last season when you had guys that were injured. You lose Rashid Shaheed. I mean, Chris Olave was really your only receiving target. Every now and then the tight ends would step up and play well. You had a running game that was down to the third and fourth guy most of the time. Get everybody healthy, add some new pieces to that, and they're liking what they have in Tyler Shuck. And you can add these pieces that you mentioned without breaking the bank. Because you don't have to break the bank on your quarterback. So they're in a good spot. They really are. But again, it comes down to money management. No Jarius Bird contracts. Let's go out there and find players that will help this offense and defense right away, that won't break the bank, and you can get more pieces. Which on paper seems like is the difference this year than when they've been aggressive in past years. When they've been aggressive in past years, Browner, Jarius Bird, they've usually again come up again, on the losing end of that. Doesn't look like it with the players they brought in today. I agree. You did a one-on-one interview with Cam Jordan recently, again, in which, again, he talked about his future possibly in New Orleans or elsewhere. He was on the Tom Around Armstead podcast this week, where he talked about, again, what he's looking for. First of all, before I really kind of get into what he spoke about, your thoughts on Cam and his future in New Orleans? Well, they've said many, many times, they being the front office, Mickey Loomis, that as long as Cam wants to play here, he can play here. The question is, how much will he get to play here each year? To me, based on his age and his familiarity with the program, obviously it's the only place he's been, I think he would play more here in New Orleans than anywhere else. I think anywhere he would be a spot player, including New Orleans. But it feels like there's such an understanding of what he can do and how he can be at his best when put in certain positions and certain situations on the field. The Saints tend to get the best out of him when they play him the right way. They know how to play him. Now, they have that advantage when it comes to negotiations. They can say, look, Cam, you're comfortable here. You're playing well here. You're having your best years here. Why not keep it going here? And I can understand Cam. It comes down to money and opportunity to win a championship. Are those two things more important than getting steady playing time and continuing to stack sacks every year? So it's an interesting call. I think he'll end up back here. I think he'll end up back here on a deal that maybe it's more incentive laden, like last season's was.
Maybe there's a higher starting point than what last season's was, which was not very high. But he put the sacks in. He got the number up to like $6-7 million. So I think that's the way the Saints would want to go about it. We'll give you a contract here. We'll keep you here. We want you to stay here, but it's got to be incentive-based.
He talked about in the podcast about his value and what the next team will look at him. He says it's an eye of the beholder. One of the things I took away from this is several things. I believe money is third. You do not. I want to get into that in a moment. I think what he's looking at right now as his career starts to end, he'd love to win a championship. But I think he'd also like to get into the top 10 in sacks. He's 17th right now. With another 10.5 sack year, he would be in the top 10 all time in sacks. And I think that's a big thing for his legacy going forward.
Where's the best place for that to happen, Eric?
Well, it's right here in New Orleans. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Because what he did last year, if you look at the numbers, when in the beginning of the season, obviously again was still playing pretty steady. But when Chase Young came back, his numbers went up dramatically. Because then Chase Young took on the double teams. He's taking on double teams his entire time here in New Orleans, and so Chase Young kind of took that pressure off. As you mentioned, we were talking before the show. Grandison not having a great year also gave him an opportunity to get more snaps. He got about 55% of the snaps last year and was able to parlay it into 10.5 sacks. To me, New Orleans is the best place for him, and as long as they don't go out and draft a defensive end in the draft, right? But to me, also, it's his legacy that he's looking at right now toward the end. Now, you've had conversations with him. You know him fairly well. What's your take? Is it about the money? Is it about the legacy? Is it about winning a championship?
In talking to him, it's about all that.
Okay.
And that really is what he said. I want all that. Why can't I have all that? Get to the playoffs, win a championship, get the money I feel like I'm owed, keep adding sacks and building my legacy, get myself into a position where I'm considered a NFL Hall of Famer. Maybe not first ballot, obviously.
But if you're top 10 in sacks, by the time
top 10 in sacks, you put in that long amount. But again, I think it all comes back down to where will he have the best opportunity to achieve all that he wants.
Right.
Maybe not the money amount that he would like to have, that he feels like he's worth. And he made a point that, I gave them a Costco discount last year. I'm not going to do that again this year. So money is important to him. He wants to be paid his value, what he feel like he's worth. But I'm not sure how he gets there in terms of guaranteed money versus incentive-laden contract money. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're far apart. I don't know where they are. Nobody really does, except Cam and Mickey. And in talking to Cam a couple days ago, all he would say was, "I know my value. I want to be paid my worth." So
it tells you money it is a factor.
Money is a factor. And money becomes a factor for these players when you get up in age, and you know that your best years are behind you, and your number of years left to play.
It might be your last contract.
It might be your last 2 years in the league. So you get as much money for you can before you go out. I get it. But again, the numbers have to work for the Saints as well. And while he says it's in the eye of the beholder, yes, but the Saints know what they have in you. The Jets, the Giants, the Rams, whoever looking at you, they're saying, "Oh, he's a 37-year-old guy. He's on the back end of his career. He wants this amount. He wants how much?" So I mean, it's a tough move for another team to be sold on giving him the money he wants at the age that he is.
One of the things he said in the podcast was he had to fly back to, I guess, Arizona to see his wife.
They just built a house out there.
Okay, so there are 3 teams that are interested in him at this point. He would not divulge those teams. He did say he would never play for the Falcons. Okay, and he also said in the podcast that again that maybe Carolina, Tampa would not be an issue within the division. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but I do think his best opportunity to get where he wants to get in terms of being a top 10 sack leader, maybe not a championship, but still be able to make that money again with incentives is probably here in New Orleans.
If the Falcons came to him and said, "Cam, we'll give you close to your asking price for a 1-year deal," I find it hard to believe he would walk away from that if he doesn't have any other options anywhere else. I mean, this all sounds great. I don't want to play for the Dirty Birds. But, there were some other Saints that left here over the last 10, 15 years and went and played in Atlanta because it's an opportunity. And there's only so many teams in the league if they're giving you a chance. And when you're at his age, where the opportunity offers are less and less, you really got to think about it.
Bottom line, what do you think happens?
I think he comes back here on a 1-year deal, and it's incentive-based.
You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Juan Kincaid, sports director at Fox 8, is our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We'll hear from our underwriters. When we come back, we'll jump into LSU, Tulane, and Pelicans. All that here on Inside New Orleans Sports. Stay tuned.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Juan Kincaid, Sports Director at Fox 8 Sports, is our guest tonight. All right, basketball has ended for, again, all the state teams, with the exception of McNeese, who was in the tournament, again, for the third consecutive year. Congratulations to McNeese. They built quite a program in the South and over there. Again,
they have.
And all the budgets came out this week on again, all the schools, all the men's basketball schools. And you can see why. They're spending the money at McNeese right now to win.
They've created an expectation.
They have, and they're getting that every year. Again, you got to give UNO a lot of credit, what they were able to do for go from 4 wins to, I think, 15 wins this season. Again, what Master P has done. We're hearing now Master P would like to get a head coaching job somewhere. We'll see again how that plays out and how that will affect. That's not the same thing. How that will affect, but we can laugh.
Yeah.
Master P has done everything he's ever wanted to do in his life. So anybody again that thinks that he can't do it.
I'm not laughing at what he wants to do. I'm just saying this is where college sports is now.
Agreed.
It's not just about finding the best head coach available. It's about finding a guy that can help market this basketball, football, baseball program. UNO. Absolutely.
Incredible. He put the scoreboard up. No, I agree with you, Juan. Again, he was a godsend for the university. It'd be interesting if he does get an opportunity to maybe coach somewhere else, because he was on the bench for them. But I want to start off with LSU and Tulane basketball, because they're at a crossroads right now. Yeah. McMahon this past year, 15-16, 3-16 in the SEC. They were last in the SEC. As I've mentioned many times on my radio show, $224 million athletic budget for LSU, $50 million raised by the TAF. To Bayou Traditions again, $88 million raised by TAF, $50 million raised by Bayou Traditions. Again, that's a lot of money that goes into that LSU program. You can't be last in anything. I'm sorry, you in the SEC, you cannot be last in anything. So now comes the question of again, will he survive this offseason? $7.5 million buyout for him. His contract ends in 2029. They're talking about another additional maybe $3 million, so around $10 million to buy him and his staff out. And then of course it becomes again the question of Will Wade. There's been a move at LSU now to again bring over again former McNeese administrators. Dr. Wayne Roos is the LSU assistant president. He comes from McNeese. Heath Scheuer is the McNeese AD. He is rumored to be an associate AD at LSU very, very soon. And Lee Mallett, again, who's a big part of McNeese, and one of the reasons why Will Wade went to McNeese is Will Wade's best friend, and he has now ties to LSU. And then there's the governor as well, who all seem to be pushing the same direction to bring Will Wade back to Louisiana. He's got $5 million buyout until April 1st. Then that buyout goes to $3 million. The question is, at this point, do you think Will Wade is coming back to coach at LSU?
Well, the things that he did to get in trouble at LSU, he can now do no problem.
That's right.
And so we know that he can recruit. We know that he can coach. We know that he has that dog in him to get his players to play for him and win basketball games. And we know outside of the controversy he had, the legalities he did with the recruiting and everything, I mean, LSU basketball hasn't been that good in a long, long time. So I find it hard to believe that Will Wade is not on the phone with anybody right about now saying, okay, how can we push this through? $3 to $5 million buyout for a coach of his quality is not a lot of money. Now, having said that, the question then turns back around to LSU. How serious, we know how serious you are about women's basketball because Kim Mulkey's here.
Right.
How serious are you about men's basketball? And it's hard to believe I'm saying that because in most circles it'd be like, oh, we care more about the men's basketball than the women's basketball.
Agreed.
That's just the way it's been a long time. But it's reversed at LSU. LSU's had a long tradition of really good women's basketball teams, winning national championships. Even before that, in the mid-2000s, like 5 straight Final Fours. This team with Sylvia Fowles should have won a couple championships.
Agreed.
They've always had a commitment to winning championships in women's basketball. Men's basketball has been slow to come around. I mean, take away the Dale Brown teams and all that, a few John Brady teams. For the most part, it's been really bad basketball. What doesn't help them is this state does not produce good high school basketball players.
Which is crazy. They used to, but they don't anymore.
Which is ridiculous. Can't figure it out. But it does not. So LSU does not get the benefit of that. It's not a high priority. It's not a high prize program to come coach if you're a good mid-major coach that wants to get to a Division I team, a big team like the SEC. It's not one of the top echelon teams in the SEC, but it is a program that can win. So how serious is the university with bringing aboard Will Wade or a coach of his quality, paying for that buyout with Mac McMahon, because it clearly has not worked there. It has not worked. And then bringing him in, we shall see. But to me, this is more about LSU's commitment to men's basketball than it is would Will Wade come back if they offered.
Again, the scuttlebutt out there is, again, they're not talking about a contract for him, but if he comes back, they have pledged, again, $15 million in NIL money. Okay, you're talking about a team that last year the budget for the men's basketball team was $11 million. You're also talking about the women's basketball program where their budget was $11 million, but only spent $3 million on NIL on the women's side.
You know why? The biggest reason why? Because players want to come play for Kim Mulkey. They don't know who Matt McMahon is. They just look at his record and say, oh, he was at Murray State when he got into the tournament, came to LSU, had one good year, and hasn't done anything since. Players aren't attracted by that. You can pay a player as much money as you want. Unless you're just like throwing gaudy money at them, there's other places to go now.
And every year you got to re-recruit those players.
And you got to re-recruit.
So again, there's going to be a pile of money there that they're going to use to be able to try to woo him back. Here's the biggest question from a guy that again is North Carolina born and bred, right?
Yeah.
North Carolina State. If you are going to stay at North Carolina, you are third fiddle. Duke, North Carolina, then North Carolina State in the state of North Carolina. If you come to LSU, again, obviously you're the big dog. Again, you're not dealing with any other state schools. The question is, again, what does he want to do? Does he want to come back to Louisiana and prove something? Does he want to come back to Louisiana and, again, not have to deal with North Carolina and Duke? Or does he want to stay at North Carolina after 1 year and continue to be able to push that program forward? What are your thoughts?
North Carolina State, let's make it clear.
Yeah,
and I love NC State. I really do, the triangle. I think you have a better recruiting base in the state of North Carolina than you do here in Louisiana. So the advantage is to NC State. But you're also competing against North Carolina and Duke, but they're more of a national recruiting program. They're not really. They'll get the guys in state if they just walk into the room, whereas NC State has to kind of see what falls their way. I just think that the opportunity to come back to LSU, if it's there for him, he comes back here because he's shown he can recruit in his state. Even if it's bringing players from outside the state, he can recruit. He can coach too.
Yes.
I mean, Will Wade's a good coach. I mean, look what he did at McNeese. And McNeese, we talked about that a minute ago. They decided we're serious about basketball.
And they went now Will Wade.
We may not have great other teams in the athletic department, but our basketball team, we want to win there, and that's what they've done.
And Will Wade's assistant.
And Will Wade's the biggest reason why.
His assistant who took over McNeese just got an extension on his contract as well. Here's another part of this as well. They want to build a new PMAC, a new stadium arena in Baton Rouge, $500 million, and again, zero taxpayer money, all going to be done by the private sector. You need to fill that building. You need to fill that building not just again for concerts and other things, but you need to fill that building not just for gymnastics and women's basketball, but men's basketball as well. So when you're making that type of investment in a building, you're also going to make that kind of investment in your program. I also believe Will Wade will come back to LSU. The money's going to be too much, the NIL money as well. So we'll see again how that plays out.
I want to tell you the biggest thing. Not harping on McNeese too much, but when Will Wade left LSU, ended up getting a job at McNeese, the one thing he did right away was change the expectations at McNeese from day one.
I agree.
And it's carried over to now. Him coming back to LSU, what's it going to do? It's going to change the expectation of the men's basketball team from day one. He's not coming in to win 15 games. He's coming in to win 25 games to get back to the tournament right away. The days of being able to build a roster Give me 4 years.
Agreed.
That's all gone.
It's over.
It's all gone because every player is being rented now. The top 5 players in your team are being rented now every year. You got to go back and re-recruit them.
Yes.
So the game has changed, and I think Will Wade is young enough and understands the game. He's Lane Kiffin on the basketball court.
I agree.
He's been in the game long enough now to understand how I have to go about it to get these players to come here and then come back here again.
And when basketball has been successful at LSU, it's always a charismatic coach.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is.
I mean,
you can look at it.
yeah.
Dale Brown, John Brady,
Yep.
Will Wade, Kim Mulkey.
Yep.
Again, we go right down the line.
Chapman was the same way.
Yes.
Enthusiastic on the sideline.
There
Sue
you
Gunter
go.
was the same way. Yep.
I agree. So again, we'll see how that plays out. The other part is again, well, by the way, with LSU, as we conclude there, spring practice starts for LSU next week. Not sure again how much the media is going to have an opportunity to be able to see what's going on. But again, spring practice starts for LSU next week. We'll have a lot to talk about there. Spring practice started again for Tulane. They had a scrimmage this morning. Again, from what I understand, Samanza looked really, really good. We'll see how that plays out. We have more on that next week when we have more about that.
That's fine, Eric. But let me tell you something. I just do not feel good.
You don't see they got a quarterback?
I don't feel good about this Tulane quarterback situation. I don't feel good about this team. I feel like they're going to be a 7-8 win team this year. I don't know. I don't know Will Hall personally.
Right.
And I know he had a really good season one year at Southern Miss.
Right.
You know, but I feel like Tulane could have taken a little bit more time on finding a head coach. If it ends up being Will Hall, that's fine. But the program is in such a good shape right now that you could have gone out and taken your time. You weren't in a rush to give him the job. And so I hope I'm wrong, but it just feels like Tulane has taken a bit of a step backwards here. And that quarterback room does not give you pause for like, oh, this is going to be great. Right. You got a bunch of guys in there that don't really have any playing time.
Right. Chris Gremion again is injured right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of him and either Samanza look at the odds on favorite.
He could win the job at Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's again very, very athletic. And look, let's face it, again, it's the difference between the Big 12 and the American when you start talking about talent levels. So we'll see how that plays out. But to your point, I think a lot what they tried to do was, again, to try to hold this team together, and they did for this first year. But again, the question is, can Will Hall do it this year and beyond? Yeah. And again, that's a question that needs to be answered because, again, he was not successful at Southern Miss. Yeah. And so that's a question.
I just don't want to see the program take a step back because you look at the work that they did with Willie Fritz and look at the work they've done with John Summerall. I mean, they've gotten that program to the heights it's never been before. Not since the late 90s when they went undefeated. They haven't been there. It's been a lot of mediocrity over on Uptown. Right. I just don't want to see them go backwards, and I hope I'm wrong about this.
Well, and look. They finally have, again, the collective that is pumping the NIL money into the programs. The alumni, again, are excited about the football program. So, again, they cannot afford to take a step back. Yeah. Again, basically, if you look at the bubble going up, everything that's going on at Tulane right now, a byproduct of that
bubble's crazy.
Program.
Drive by on Claiborne.
It's crazy.
It's just like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about it.
Big marshmallow.
All right, the other question about Tulane, and it's a big question now, because, look, Ron Hunter is below. 107 wins, 103 losses, no NCAA appearances. He makes between 1.45 and $2 million a year. He's got 2 years left on his deal. What we understand, they're staying with Ron Hunter this upcoming season. But the question is, again, what does that say about Tulane and their commitment to basketball? Should he get another opportunity? Again, considering he did lose his best player. I get that. But McMahon lost 2 of his best players this year. That no longer can be an excuse in basketball when you talk about the transfer portal. Should he have an opportunity to get one more shot to be able to keep this thing going?
It feels like the 80s is so far away, huh?
Yes, it does.
When basketball was king in New Orleans, UNO, Tulane. I mean,
when people actually used to go to games.
Yes, go to games. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like Ron Hunter. I think he's enthusiastic. I think he has the energy for the job. I think he's a good basketball coach. But it's hard to win at Tulane, and for whatever reason, and he's had his struggles there. Again, it's like LSU. It comes down to how serious are you about winning basketball with the men's team. If you're serious, and you've got the NIL money, then go out there and put your money where your mouth is. If you're not, then we're going to continue seeing 500 basketball. I mean, the way they finished the season was horrid. They obviously beat Memphis first round of tournament, but they were not competitive over the last couple of weeks.
Memphis was not good, right?
And to me, that's another program. I mean, Penny Hardaway's coaching that team. He's a proud Memphis Tiger alum. And they've always been really good at basketball.
Yeah.
What happened there? Kentucky wasn't great this year.
Right.
The blue bloods in basketball, it's a struggle. And the reason why, because NIL has changed the game.
It really, again, it lifts all boats in a lot of cases and makes an even play field.
It does.
Tulane this year, 18-15, 8-10. They finished 9th place in the
18-15, Eric.
Right. I know. And in the American, did win again their first conference game in the tournament against Memphis. But it was against Memphis, who again was struggling.
Who beat them by double digits about a week before that.
Actually, they lost in overtime before that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Look, you got to show your commitment when they're there. I like Ron Hunter. I think, again, he's been a little bit slow to get behind NIL. He's maybe, again, more of an old school coach. But sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, is this what I really want to do?
Yeah.
I was speaking to someone yesterday about Tulane, and one of the things that they said was it might be Ron Hunter's decision. Does he want to retire? Does he want to continue? Tulane obviously does not want to buy out that contract, about $4 million, again, left on that deal. So we'll see how that plays out. But there should be more of a commitment to winning, whether that's NIL money or, again, making sure you got the right coach in place.
Well, NIL money and also spend the money wisely.
Yes.
And again, the injuries are unfortunate. You lose your best player. That's hard to overcome.
But it happens. Again, it happens. But again, that's why you have the transfer portal now to try to build a club. And they're probably going to lose Brumbaugh this year. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the tail of the tape for the UNO and Tulanes across the board. You're going to lose your best players to, again, a Power 4 school. It just is what it is. So we'll see again how that's going to work out going forward. Pelicans. A couple things I want to talk about the Pelicans today. First, we're going to talk about the team itself, and then also, again, about NBA expansion, which will be voted on next week, which looks like it's going to be fait complete. Las Vegas and Seattle will come into the league.
Welcome back, Seattle.
Yeah, no, which never, again, like New Orleans should have never lost to Jazz. Yeah. They should have never lost to Supersonics.
I agree.
Again, this is a long time coming for the city of Seattle, which deserves an NBA team. Pelicans are now 24-46. They're 12th in the West. They beat the Clippers last night, 124-109. That's 6 in a row at home. They're 9-5 since the All-Star break, 11-10 since February the 1st. With 12 games remaining, 6 of those games will be against teams that are 500 below, 6 games against teams that are 500. And a miraculous turnaround in the back end of the season. It's been a slow move, again, for Borrego and trying to get this team to kind of, again, play his system. But the biggest difference has been DeJounte Murray and what he has done since he has come back from the Achilles injury. This looks like a different team.
Yeah, they took their time getting him back, even though we heard reports that he was ready to come back long before this. They took their time getting him back. It looks like it was the right decision to take their time and get him completely healthy. I've had an Achilles injury. I know how hard it is to come back. I'm not a major athlete like these guys are, getting around the clock care. But the fact he came back, a little more than a year later, and he's going full speed with no problems whatsoever. You see the difference in the team with him on the court. No longer are you having to rely on Jeremiah Fears to run the offense. It makes sense why they decided to trade Jose Alvarado, get him to the Knicks.
Right.
Because you felt good about DeJounte coming back. You feel good about where Jeremiah Fears is in his development. It makes you ask the question now, okay, do we hold on to DeJounte? Because he is the point guard, the big point guard that you haven't had in a while and you may need going forward.
2 years left on his deal, $30 million a year. Obviously, again, next year will be an expiring contract for him. And my guess is that if I am Dumars and seeing what he's done so far, yes, you may be able to dangle him out there and be able to bring in other players or picks. But he has proven to be something that this team has lacked, it seems like, for decades. Since maybe Chris Paul walked away from New Orleans. He is an alpha. He is a leader. He is a point guard, again, which again is which should be your natural leader. And one of the reasons why Griffin went out and gave up Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance Jr. and 2 number 1 picks is because they needed that leader. They needed that quarterback. And again, there was some question on the way DeJounte played last year, but he had a lot of stuff off the court. There was issues that he was dealing with. And then, of course, the injuries that he dealt with here. But again, he has come back, and he is the DeJounte Murray we saw at San Antonio and in Atlanta. If you're Dumars, can you afford not to extend him and keep hearing?
Well, he kind of fits the mold of what Dumars always said the kind of player he likes, which was also Jose Alvarado, a guy that's not going to back down. He's going to be that dog on the court, that alpha male. And I'm listening to you say this, and I'm thinking, boy, that's what we thought Zion Williamson was going to be. But that's not Zion, who Zion is.
It's not his personality.
It's not his personality, but it is DeJounte's.
Yes.
Like the other day when he got fouled, he's in the guy's face.
Right.
I kind of didn't mind that. I didn't mind
Actually,
that.
I got excited about it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all because you need that.
When's the last time you've seen that in a basketball? Somebody wore New Orleans on their chest, right?
Jeremiah Fears could not be more opposite to DeJounte in terms of how he just hit that bark. He does everything quietly, a bit of assassin kind of. But DeJounte is I'll be honest with you, I didn't really follow. I knew his game. I didn't follow it that much because he was playing in Atlanta and all that. And they had Trae Young, and Trae got most of the headlines there. But I can understand why DeJounte Murray would be a guy that you want to say, well, let's keep him in the fold and try to build around him as well. For one, him and Herb Jones at the point, on defensively, that's a long defensive unit right there, and you see the difference.
You do.
So this team has holes, yes. This team should make some trades, yes. Would DeJounte Murray be in that trade? I wouldn't.
Right.
I would keep him.
And to me, a perfect mentor for Fears.
Absolutely.
When you're talking about a guy that, again, can teach you how to play the point guard position in the NBA.
And it takes the pressure off Fears a little bit,
It does. He doesn't have to. Again, look, he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, when you're looking at it, again, he went to school a year early, right? Okay, so again, he was really supposed to be a high school senior that was at Oklahoma, who was competing in the SEC as a true freshman, and then of course now he should have been a true freshman competing in the NBA as a rookie.
Yep.
So yes, again, he's got to grow as a player, and I can't think of a better example of how you can become point guard than to have a guy like DeJounte Murray, and to see again how this team has transformed since he's been on the court shows you again they need someone to get the most out of the players on the floor. The other part of this, and we're going to get more into players, but I want to switch gears to Borrego. As the season kind of went along, I was the one that said, you know what? New broom should have swept clean with Willie Green. We knew that. Why are you going to hold Borrego over? Are Dumars and Weaver going to go out and get their own guy to be able to come in and coach this team? And I still think that is a real possibility. But what we've seen over the last month, out of what Borrego's been able to do with this team, that team now buying into, again, the unselfishness and the passing, playing a strong defense on the defensive end, he has reached these players. And again, they're playing for him as well. Would it be wise to bring him back? He's not going to cost you a lot. Okay, on the open market. I mean, if you want to go get a Malone or somebody like that, it's going to cost you big money. To me, things are going well. Do you stick with it, or is that fool's gold going forward?
Oh, I don't know if it's really fool's gold. Borrego's pretty straightforward. You're getting what you're getting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not trying to hide anything, not trying to hold anything back. He's really honest when he gives his assessment of his players after the game and what they've done wrong and how they need to be better. I think he's done a really good job. But I think the biggest advantage he's had is guys have gotten healthy, and Zion Williamson has stayed on the court.
Right.
We want to give Zion credit for playing every night. That's great. We also know that he has a contract incentive to meet by playing 61 games, I believe it is, something like that.
Yeah.
So, but he hasn't wanted to sit. You think about it in the past, Dirk, when this team has been this bad, this late in the season, the main players
they're checking out.
They're checking out.
Right.
But none of them have.
Right.
And I think it's a credit to James Borrego.
I agree.
Obviously, again, Zion's playing for a big contract. If I'm the Pelicans, though, do you want to change the message? The messenger.
Right.
I guess you said, do you want to change that and just kind of start fresh? That's going to be the big question in
I
the
agree with
offseason. Like, no one's questioning Borrego's ability to coach.
Right.
He did it in Charlotte, did a good job there as well. He knows the X's and O's.
Yes.
But sometimes it's about just changing the entire direction the franchise is going. We can't change all the players, but we can change is the guy that's putting the voice in the ears of the players. So it'll be interesting to see. If I were betting, I would say they're going to go in a different direction. And I like Borrego. I think he's a really good coach. I think they're going to go in a different direction because I think Joe Dumars wants to be given the opportunity to hire the guy that he believes will take this team to the next level.
Juan, I've been with you the whole season on that. Okay, I mean, I did a monologue on my radio show that said again, they're not going anywhere. Again, it was his job to try to get them to into the play-in tournament. That did not happen. A lot of that again was injuries. But I think we've seen a buy-in over the last month and a half. Yeah, a lot of that is DeJounte coming back. But these guys, most NBA teams are quitting now. They are playing for. It's like they know they can't get into the play-in tournament, but they're giving an effort every single night. And I can't tell you how many times my frustration with this basketball team has been: you got the talent, but you don't give the effort every night. Yeah. We're seeing effort every single night on both ends of the floor, and that again, you point back to the coach. Now look, he's still dealing with Willie Green's staff here. Yeah. That's not even his staff. Right? And they've been able to get this done.
Luckily, the continuity is still there.
It
which
is.
is probably the reason why they gave him the job so early in the year.
Yes.
Let's keep the continuity of the coaching staff together.
But I think it's a tough decision. On one hand, yes, if you're Dumas and Weaver, you probably got your own guy. Kevin Ali's been mentioned a lot. Yeah. But at the same time, if this thing is working so well right now, why would you change, especially when you have players that are listening to the coach? The message is not going stale.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But also you're about to go into an off season that lasts about 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And so all the feel good you're having right now, how you finish the season, it's like I talk to Deuce all the time about carryover.
Yes.
He doesn't believe in it going from one game to the next because there's a week in between football games. I don't believe in carryover from the end of the regular season in April to the start of the regular season in September. It's a lot of time that goes by. A lot of changes will happen with the roster. So I don't know if that feel good that you have leaving in April is going to still be there. There's hope and optimism going into the season, the next season in September, but I don't know. I just think it's a lot to ask to say a team's going to start the way they finished.
Right. Zion back with his team next year, in your opinion? He's had his best year. He's also been on the court.
He's had his
best year.
If
you're ever going to trade Zion, his value's never been higher.
Yeah. If it were me, I would trade him and see I'd find out what I can get back. I want to get back in that draft, top 10, if I can get that for him. And I want to get some shooting.
That's the biggest need for this team, in my opinion.
Oh, without a doubt. They're one of the worst three-point shooters.
They got to find three-point shooters.
It can't be just Trey.
Right.
It can't be. They need shooting.
Right.
They need shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think that, again, Poole will probably be moved in the offseason.
Yeah.
There'll be some changes there. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but what's his value, though?
Well, not much right now, honestly, again. But beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So, again, thank goodness for Sadiq Bey, who needs an extension.
Sadiq Bey, to me, has been the best player on this team all season long. Been the most consistent guy on this team all season long. I think he's been fantastic.
All right, the rookies, Queen and Fears, who got a lot of playing time early. Their playing time has diminished some. They're more coming off the bench. And Shamit Dua put something on X this week where he talked about, and I agree with him, Borrego's really been able to thread the needle late in the season here with, again, still getting his starters on and his veterans on the floor, but also still getting an opportunity for these guys to grow, the two young players, really the three rookies to come and grow. I think there is a bright future for both.
Yeah.
The question is, again, when you look at both those guys, how quickly can they get to where they can be starters in this league? Do you think it's another season? Do you think they'll be coming off the bench? And of course, both guys have to get stronger in the offseason and work on their games.
Well, some of it depends on Zion. If they decide to trade Zion, that pushes up the clock on Derek Queen. But I think what happened early on, both those guys are being relied on too much as starters or in giving starters type minutes. And these are guys coming straight out of college. You're asking them to play against grown men that have been in the league for a while and to produce, give you 20 points a night. I think what's happened now with the rotation getting back with Yves Missi back in the starting lineup, it's taking pressure off Derek Queen. With DeJounte Murray coming back, it's taking pressure off of Jeremiah Fears. I think you got him in a position now where they can continue to develop and become better basketball players. You look at that game Wednesday night against the Clippers, that game got turned out. Pelicans were down 14 in the first quarter.
Right. Well, they gave up 40 in the first quarter.
That game turned around as soon as Jeremiah Fears came in the game. Caused a turnover, knocked down a jump shot, got a layup. He gave the team energy. He gave them what Jose Alvarado used to give, that spark. Yeah. And to me, that's how you look at Jeremiah coming off the bench as a guy who's a pace changer. He can get to the basket, he can score. With mid-range, he can score three. I'd like to see him get players more involved a little bit, raise those assist totals a little bit, and be a little more cautious with the basketball in his hands. Derek Queen needs to get stronger.
Yeah.
He's got really good basketball IQ.
Yeah, he does. Got great footwork, too.
great footwork, but sometimes he's careless with the basketball.
Yeah.
And so I like to, but those things will come as you work more
you're
and
talking
more.
about 19 and 20-year-old kids.
I think they're exactly where the Pelicans hope they would be at this point in time. And you think about if the Pelicans were still in the draft, a guy like Derek Queen, the way he plays, that's a guy you would grab at that position number 7. So you take that.
I want to talk a little bit about NBA expansion. Again, next week, the Board of Governors will meet on March 24th and 25th to again, it's fait accompli at this point, to expand the NBA to Las Vegas and Seattle. They'll be targeted for the 28-29 season. The entry fee for each of those teams will be somewhere between $7 and $10 billion. That means existing teams will get about $400 to $500 million for expansion fee for each of the 30 NBA teams. First of all, that money is going to be utilized for the Pelicans to upgrade the Smoothie King Center, which is a godsend for Mrs. Benson. Even though she's got the money to spend, she doesn't have to spend her money now. She's going to be spending an expansion fee. So again, which is needed and necessary, because both Memphis and New Orleans have already been told by the commissioner that again, you have to upgrade those arenas. Both those leases end in 2029. So both of them have to get that done. Yeah. The question is again, who will move from the east from the west to the east? And again, I've been politicking. Everybody's politicking for New Orleans. But the way it looks like it's going to be, it will not. It will be Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota has the largest travel of any team in the NBA, 7,000 miles more than the average team. They have no natural rivals. If you move them into the east, they have Chicago, Milwaukee, and Detroit. It will not be Memphis, because Memphis is kind of a hub where you transition from the east to the west. They got the airport, the charter. The hope was New Orleans, but now New Orleans is tied to the Texas teams. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for New Orleans not getting into the east if they don't?
I don't know. It reminds me of the old NFC. Right. Was it West? NFC West.
NFC West.
The Falcons won to San Francisco every year.
And it was Los Angeles, San Francisco. Right.
Like, give me a break. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got to travel regardless. I mean, I know that owners would rather like to save a little bit of money on the gas, especially right now, and having to travel East Coast to West Coast, Central, everything. But I was hoping that and I think a lot of Pelicans fans were hoping, even when they were the Hornets playing here, they were hoping they get moved back into the East. Right. That way they can, have those Eastern matchups. But I don't think the NBA is worried about that. I just think I think moving Minnesota makes sense financially for those owners there.
And also, again, natural rivals, everything
natural
else.
Rivals, yeah.
But, I mean, it would be great to have New Orleans in the East. No more late games. And then the travel for New Orleans, look, you're having to go to the West constantly, right? But at the same time, when they break it down, because I did the numbers, it looks like it'll be Minnesota. But, man, I tell you what, and I know the NBA is cyclical, right? Again, eventually the East is going to be strong, right? But you'd love to get out of the West if you could.
No, you would. I mean, it's tough. Right. It's tough. But, a lot of the Pelicans' struggles in the West aren't because they're not as good as a lot of other teams.
They're not good.
It's because they're not good.
Right.
And they haven't done a good job with building the roster, and players haven't been healthy most of the time, your best players. So get your players healthy, manage the roster the right way, and you can be one of those top 8 teams.
Last question for you on the Pelicans. Do you trust Dumars and Weaver to get this team back in contention?
You have to. You have to, because that's who's in charge now. And ultimately, you got to trust Miss Benson that what she says that she wants to win, that she means that she wants to win. She's put her money where her mouth is when it comes to the Saints. Are you going to do the same with the Pelicans? I think hiring Joe Dumars was a good hire. I think he's a good basketball mind. Okay. I believe he knows what he wants in his next head coach, whether the guy's on the bench right now or whoever he's going to get. I'd like to see what he's going to do with this roster, with his real first time dealing with the roster in the offseason. So I think they'll get it right. It's an expensive project not to get it right.
I miss this guy. We did a radio show.
We don't do it enough, do we?
I'm telling you, boy, I miss him. Juan, thanks for joining us. Look at about 30 seconds for you. Tell everybody about all the great programming over at Fox 8.
Well, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday we have the Fox 8 Overtime. On Thursday we have the Final Bet with Garland Gillen, help you with your gambling needs there, especially with the NCAA tournament just getting underway. And of course the Final Play coming away on Sunday nights at 10:30. We're taking a break right now. And the podcast, the Fox 8 Overtime podcast, is 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the app, and also on Gulf Coast Sports. And plus we have the Pelicans games on there as well.
That's
it may be off season for football, but sports doesn't stop for us.
Never off season for us, no doubt about it. Juan, thanks for joining us.
Juan
Kincaid, Sports Director at Fox 8 Sports. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. There's a QR code on your screen that will take you to my website, ericasher.com, or WLAE-TV YouTube channel. Again, click on it, and of course, it's easy to get to. But also, remember, folks, I say it every week, we are so blessed. So many ways to catch our program. Right here on WLAE-TV, WLAE-TV 2, Pelican Sports Television, the WLAE-TV YouTube channel, and of course, you can check it out also on my social media platforms as well. You can catch me on the radio, 106.7 The Ticket. That's 4 to 6 weekdays. You can listen live at ericasher.com. Also, The Ticket has an app, 106.7 The Ticket app. Download it today. 106.7 The Ticket's website is also a way you can catch the program. iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, other digital platforms that take the show and the station with you everywhere. I want to thank the underwriters who make this show possible. Please support our underwriters. It's the reason why this show has lasted over 13 years in this market. So please, again, when you're out and about, take care of our underwriters as well. And then, of course, we want to thank the folks here at WLAE-TV who produce our program every week and do a great job. Ron Yeager, Jim Dodson, Alex Chacon, and the best director on the planet, William Hill. For Juan Kincaid, I'm Eric Asher. Happy St. Joseph's Day. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.
Hey, I'm Keith Spera from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guests this week on Let's Talk are Kristen Stewart, the Director of Operations from the Crescent City Classic, and Kristen Gradney, the Chief Wellness Officer for LCMC Health. All the years you've been doing the Crescent City Classic, Kristen, what's been the wildest costume you've seen?
I see a lot of Speedos out there.
That can
a lot of them.
That can be wild, depending on the person wearing them.
Exactly.
All right. Tune in this week for more about the Crescent City Classic on Let's Talk.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public television.